Okay, so I'm gonna be ranking all the God of War games. All of them are good games, but some of them have some bad elements that make them go lower on the list. So here we go. At number 7, we have God of War Ascension. Ascension is a good game. It has all the elements that we love from God of War, like ripping an enemy to shreds and killing gods and more blood. But this time it felt boring because we've seen this gameplay style for years. So it just got too boring. The story's fine. We got to meet Ares' son, which was cool, and we have to kill these people called the Furies. And they were sent by Ares because Kratos betrayed them after Ares made Kratos kill his wife and daughter. So then after you kill them, you have to kill Ares' son to regain your memories, Kratos' memories. And then he remembers the day that he killed his own wife and daughter. The story's fine and the gameplay got boring, so you can see why this is at the bottom of the list. So at number 6, we have Chains of Olympus. So this game's plot or story is that the sun god Helios has been kidnapped by the queen of the underworld, Persephone. I don't really know how to say her name. She has summoned the great Titan Atlas that holds the world, and she wants to destroy the world with Atlas, because if Atlas stops holding it, the world's doomed. But Chris stops her by killing her. And the gameplay is the exact same as all the other games. But this game has some cool bosses like Charon and the Persian King. Charon is a tough boss that took me hours to beat, and the Persian King is a good boss for the beginning of the game. At number 5, we have Ghost of Sparta. So the story about this game is that after killing Ares, Kratos meets his mother who tells him about his brother Deimos, who has been kidnapped by Ares and put him in the underworld, hung by chains to suffer. And then his mother turns into a monster because Zeus has put a curse on her. Then after killing his mother, Kratos finds his brother, and since you forgot about your own brother in the underworld for decades, will make him get pissed off. So after fighting him, Kratos and him must become brothers again. And they have to fight the god of death, Thanatos. But after you kill him, it turns out that Thanatos actually got the final hit on Deimos. That kills him, and that's the end of the game. The story is actually good, but the only reason this game isn't higher on the list is because of the other games. Because the other games are way better than this one. So at number 4, we have God of War 2. So God of War 2 starts with Kratos destroying Olympus. Will be a part of Olympus anyways. Until an owl takes Kratos' powers and gives it to a statue. Well, the statue of Rhodes. And then Zeus gives Kratos the sword of, well, actually the blade of Olympus that makes you, well, you have to give all your power, your god powers, and then it'll make you really strong. And and then after that, after Kratos puts all of his godly powers into the blade, he becomes mortal. And then after he just kills the statue of Rhodes, the giant falls on him, making him weak, breaking all his armor and making him drip blood all over him. Then when he tries to grab the sword to get his powers back and heal himself, but then Zeus takes it because he wants a vengeance against Kratos for destroying his land. So he kills Kratos, but the Titan Gaia saves him from dying and gives him a Pegasus to help him. Then she tells you to find and kill the Sisters of Fate to go back in time and stop Zeus from killing you to change your fate. Then after going back in time, you fight Zeus, and when you're about to finish him off, Athena, the goddess of war, steps on steps on the way sacrificing herself to save Olympus. That just pisses Kratos off even more. So he and the Titans start climbing Mount Olympus to kill Zeus and all the other gods. So let's talk about the gameplay now. That was the story, and the story is actually pretty good. The gameplay was good, getting to slash enemies to pieces and killing enemies with the Gauntlet of Zeus, Typhon's blade, and the feeling of slashing and beating crap out of Zeus felt great. So at number 3 we have God of War 1, the original that started it all. So the story is that Kratos is having a flashback of killing his wife and daughter, and Athena, the goddess of war, tells Kratos that by killing Ares will make his flashbacks go away. But the only way he could kill Ares is if he has Pandora's box, and the only way to get Pandora's box is to climb on Kronos, Zeus's father, and get the box. So Kratos, and the help of from the gods such as Zeus, Poseidon, also I forgot, and the other gods, Kratos needs to find Pandora's box. But Ares kills Kratos by throwing a giant sharp wooden stick at him, and then Ares steals Pandora's box. And then Kratos, he goes to Hades, but then he escapes. And then he finds Ares again, and then with a lightning bolt from Zeus, he throws it at the chain of Pandora's box, and then he opens it, giving him the power of Pandora, and making him become a giant. And then Kratos and Ares start fighting, and Ares grows spider legs out his back, and then Kratos, he looks like he's about to win, but then Ares rips off Kratos' blades of chaos, which are melted into his skin. And then Ares is about to kill Kratos, but then Kratos finds a giant blade, not the blade of Olympus, because this is the first game, not the second game. Well, it's literally just a giant blade. And then he fights back against Ares, and then he slices, and then he jabs the giant sword into Ares' head, and then he kills Ares. And then he killed him. Well, I already said that. And then he tries to kill himself because, as it turns out, he cannot. They cannot remove his memory. That was just a lie. But Athena's like, makes him the new god of war and gives him the new blades, the blades of Athena. Yeah, pretty cool. And that was the end of the game. The gameplay was great. You got to throw lightning bolts with Zeus's powers at enemies, using Poseidon's rage to wipe out a bunch of enemies, using Medusa's heads, that's the one I forgot, to turn enemies into stone. Now that was a pretty good game. At number 2, we have God of War 3. So the story is that Kratos and the Titans are climbing Mount Olympus, and Kratos and Gaia meet Zeus after killing Poseidon at the beginning. Then Zeus throws a giant thunderbolt at them, knocking Kratos into Hades while Gaia is still climbing Mount Olympus. And then after a bit of exploring of Hades and killing a bit of enemies and acquiring the Blade of Olympus once more, Kratos meets Hephaestus, god of blacksmiths. But after that he finds Hades and he has to take his Hades soul to open the gate to leave Hades. So he takes Hades' claws, his weapons, and takes Hades' soul. Then you escape Hades. Then you kill Helios, Hermes, and Hercules along the way. Then you have to fight the Titan Kronos, father Zeus. Then he eats Kratos, but then Kratos uses the blade to cut through Kronos' stomach and stab him in the fucking head. Then he kills Hephaestus. Then he kills Hephaestus. Then he faces off with Zeus, the big ass motherfucker. A guy pops out of nowhere. Then she eats you, Kratos, and Zeus. Then you stabs after fighting with Zeus. You stab him in the chest, and then you stab Guy in the heart at both at the same time. And then, and then Zeus's soul starts attacking you. But then the good power, the power of Pandora and the Pandora's box, he gives you the power to defeat uh, Zeus's soul. And then when Zeus's soul goes back into his body, you get to beat the absolute shit out of Zeus, and it's gruesome. You can punch him so much that the blood is the entire screen, your entire TV screen, turns all red because how much blood you're beating the shit out of him with. It was awesome. And then when Athena asked for her power back, because it actually was her power that she put in the box, but then Kratos just stabs himself. That makes Athena's power go in the sky, all around Olympus, which is pretty much deserted at this point because I'm dead. And then it looks like Kratos dies, but he just crawled into the ocean. And we all know that he's not dead because God of War 4 is already out. Okay, the gameplay is still good. Instead of using power of the gods, use different weapons like the Blades of Exile, which you get at the start of the game from Athena. The Claws of Hades that you get after beating Hades. Hercules' Gauntlets, those are my favorites. And the Nemesis Whip that was made by Hephaestus. And it'll electrocute enemies and uses electricity to solve some puzzles. And this time you get to kill enemies in HD. Yeah. So at number 1 we have God of War 4 or God of War PS4, whichever one you want to call it. This is my favorite game of all time, and the story is that it has been years after God of War 3. Kratos has a son named Atreus, and Kratos and his boy, that's my favorite way to call him, and many other people agree with me, are going to a mountain to spread his wife's ashes. But then they get a visitor named Baldur who can't feel anything at all, and Kratos snaps his neck, and then he and his boy climb the mountain, and Kratos snaps his neck. Then he and boy climb the mountain, but it's the wrong mountain. And then they meet a man named Mimir, and he knows all, and he's very smart. And the Odin, king of Asgard, made him stuck to a tree that even Thor's hammer can't break. And he knows how to get to Jotunheim, and he tells them they're on the wrong mountain. Jotunheim has the tallest mountain, and there's no way to get there besides one way. And the only way to do it is they really need to cut off his head. So then Kratos cuts off his head, and then they go to a witch named Freya that they met earlier, and then she uses a spell to revive him, and then he comes back to life. Well, his head anyways, and then she spits in his face. Then they take Mimir to the World Serpent, who is the last giant in Midgard. So Mimir talks to him, and they find a way to Jotunheim to spread his wife's ashes. But then they have to fight Thor's sons, Magni and Modi. And then after a tough fight, Kratos kills Magni with his Leviathan axe. And then they try to find a way to get away to Jotunheim. And then Modi electrocutes Kratos. But then Atreus gets angry and then he gets sick, and then Kratos freaking almost punches Modi, and then Atreus gets sick, and he takes him to Freya, and Freya says the only way to cure him is that Kratos has to go to the gatekeeper of Helheim and then get his heart, and Kratos needs something hot to kill him. So he goes back to his house and retrieves the Blades of Chaos. And then he kills the gatekeeper, and then he gives it to Freya. And then Atreus and Kratos are about to go. They're about to go to Jotunheim. Then Boulder shows up and kidnaps Atreus. And they're fighting on a dragon. And then they go to the portal, and then they're all in Helheim. And then they find out that Freya is actually Balder's mother. And then the only thing they need left is to get to Jotunheim is Mimir's eye. So they go to the World Serpent and they find the eye. And then Balder shows up. And it's the ultimate battle. Balder versus Kratos and Atreus. And also Freya's there. She joins the fight. And then Balder punches Atreus, but it turns out an arrow that one of the two dwarf brothers gave to him is his weakness. And then Balder starts to feel again. And then after that, Kratos snaps Balder's neck, actually killing him. And now Freya wants vengeance against him. Then they go to Jotunheim, spread his wife's ashes, and they find out that the giants called Atreus Loki, and also they go back to their house. It's just a normal day. They just go to bed. A year goes by. Thunder starts popping around, and then they go outside and they find a guy in a dark feather furred coat, and then it shows a hammer. It turns out to be Thor. This time they changed up the gameplay. Instead of a hack and slasher type game, it's a bit turned down with the violence. And you got to play with the new Leviathan axe and the old Blades of Chaos. The Leviathan axe has ice attacks, so you could throw it and you can call it back to you while the Blades of Chaos use fire attacks and a bit faster than the axe, and it can burn enemies because of the fire. So that was my rankings of the God of War games. Okay. See you next time, and also comment down below. Tell me what your rankings are for the series. See you guys next time. Bye.